Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee.
The gentlelady from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
Let me thank the gentlelady from North Carolina for her leadership. Let me make a proclamation here on the floor of the House that when you have the responsibility of governing, you govern. The President of the United States, President Biden, who believes in transformational government, the House and the Senate, the House under the leadership of Speaker Pelosi, the Senate under the leadership of Chuck Schumer, you govern. Today, we are making an enforced, pointed, and open statement about governing. Let me quickly start with the NDAA, the vehicle that helps the men and women who put on the uniform unselfishly on our behalf. I'm excited about the increase in quality of life dollars, the raise in personnel salaries, the concern about families. I'm increasingly excited about cyber protection, and as well that we ask the hard questions about Afghanistan and how we will not see the return of such, but we're not afraid to govern by asking those questions so that we can move forward. I'm also excited about recognizing that the quality of life issues for our members in the military are important. The Jackson Lee amendments emphasize those points. $10 million to fight triple-negative breast cancer impacting our women in the United States military, particularly women of color. $2.5 million in PTSD. I've heard many times we give to PTSD, but it keeps growing and growing, and there are those in our constituency, our constituents, who need these ongoing services. I've been working on this for a long time. To recognize that we must treat our men and women that go into the United States military academies fairly. Does anyone know that they admit people with speech disorders? Good for them. But that when they graduate, they are not given a command. My amendment that I hope to become law that will determine that you analyze all of your military students to make sure they have a command when they graduate. And I'm most excited about one that I'll talk about quickly later. And then, of course, as we have done so much great work with the Mommy Bus, to look at maternity mortality rates for military members traveling around the world. Space degree, to determine how we can remediate the risks and outline plans to reduce the incidence of space debris, to be able to ensure that we stop students from being recruited when they go overseas, to be engaged in spy operations. That happens, and we are glad to have that, as well as to begin looking at renaming some of these bases after historic African Americans. Let me quickly say that Amendment number 194 should be one that we all come together, tracing the history of the service of African Americans in the United States military, particularly in slavery, to recognize that they can be a vital legacy to the United States military.
The gentlelady's time is expired.
Speaker, I yield an additional minute to the gentlelady.
Gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Let me thank you so very much. I will talk further about that as we move into the NDA, but let me talk about my original premise of governing. The continuing appropriations is crucial, and I support the lifting of the debt ceiling, not to spend money, but when you have responsibility to govern, you govern, to pay our bills. Does anyone want to suggest that we should not? I'm looking for a few good men and women on the other side of the aisle that will stand with us as Americans and responsible to our fellow Americans, governing so that we can ensure we have a supplemental food program and other aspects of it, but we have to govern. More response to the COVID-19. And finally, it is important to give women back their rights. Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, and we are going to pass that legislation along with my anti-stalking and vigilante bill, because people are suffering with the Texas law. It has no place in society. It is a violation of the Constitution of the United States, and it should be quashed with the Roe v. Wade codification. I ask the other body to support us in that. I ask everyone to support the underlying bills, and I yield back. I thank the gentleman, and I thank the gentlelady for yielding. Thank you so very much.
Gentleman from Oklahoma.